Shall we start?
Hi, hi everyone.
Great, great to see you.
Yeah,
Yes, over to Dr. Pankajavalli.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, one and all. On behalf of UGC HRDC and on behalf of course coordinator Dr. T. Devi ma'am, I welcome Shri Aditya, InfoSec Engineer, Curl Analytics. Sir, I welcome you with a virtual bouquet. We are happy to have you with us. Shri Aditya is a cybersec professional, a bug hunter, and he is specialized in extending his expertise to the organizations in finding the big bug in web as well as in mobile applications. He is a freelancer in the field of networking and cybersecurity. He is well versed in many programming languages and he has published article in International Aska Kapi Cybersec magazine. Uh, Sir, eager to hear from you. I thank Devi ma'am for giving me this opportunity. Now over to Aditya.
thank you. Thank you so much for the flattering introduction.
So
Okay.
So
yeah,
let's,
one more flatter, Mr. Aditya. Actually, before 2 months, we conducted a 6 days webinar on technologies for transformation, where Mr. Jay of Curl Analytics was a key resource person delivering a lecture on blockchain technology. And at this time, I requested Mr. Jay to address our participants. He recommended your name, Aditya. As far as my knowledge goes, Mr. Jay is a great expert because Jay is a person who select employees for his organization only through hackathons in the last 2 years. They do not conduct interviews. They announce a problem. 3 or 4 students join together. Whoever solves the problem are employed in an organization. So employment is happening through hackathon. Jay had lot of faith on hackathons and people, and he recommended you. So you should be a stalwart. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Among
yeah,
all the resource person, he is the youngest, but he has lot of certificates and he has more knowledge in cybersecurity. Thank you for accepting, Aditya.
thanks.
We are looking forward to hear from a very young person. Thank you.
First of all, I'm feeling really grateful to be able to speak to all of you. So that's thanks to you for giving me this opportunity. Just give me my slide. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So this is the first slide of the presentation. First of all, I want to welcome everyone to my presentation on the topic of cybercrime, online harassment. I want to put some points across to all of you first. I might falter during the presentation, so please bear with me. If you don't understand something, feel free to interrupt me. I would like to have a question answer session going throughout the presentation to actually make it more involving for all of us and provide you with more knowledge about the topic. With all that said, let us get to it. The reason for this presentation is to be able to increase your awareness to help identify online harassment and stop it right then and there and prevent any future cases. The main goal of this presentation today will be to talk about some of the most dangerous things that happen on the internet, but is still among one of the least talked about things. Yeah, of what to do next. So first of all, let me introduce myself to you. Um, my name is Aditya Anand. I'm a cybersecurity professional. I have a 3+ years of experience in this field of cybersecurity. I have been freelancing, as I've been told, for 1 year, and then I joined my current job as a cybersecurity expert, where I have been working for the past 1.5 years. I have dealt with 20 plus cases of online harassment. We have brought most of these cases to a conclusive end, but that was not the case scenario in each and every scenario. I'm essentially a white hat hacker who is also bug hunter. What this means is I find bugs and vulnerabilities in the website and products made by companies and report it back to them so that they can make it their products safer for their customers. I love to write articles. I have my own blog spot on Medium. It currently has 100,000 views on a monthly basis. If you would like, please feel free to check that out. So going on to the next slide. Uh, yeah. So without wasting your time, let us get straight to the point. What exactly is online harassment? To make it more involving, I'll ask that if any one of you can give your own thoughts on this. Anyone, just feel free to say whatever you feel about online harassment.
Taking a photos from social media and doing morphing or something.
Yeah, yes, that is definitely one of specific case that comes under online harassment. Yeah. Anyone else would like to give it a try? Okay then. Let's move on to our next slide. Just give it a minute to load. So the question is, what is online harassment? Online harassment is when you are being threatened, intimidated, or harassed on the internet by other individuals. There are a list of things that can be carried out by a malicious person against you, that is the victim. Those can involve things like cyber stalking, message bombing, trolling, catfishing, doxing. These are some of the main activities that these malicious hackers do against you. Most of these attacks are carried out on a social media platform like Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. This is the slide I was talking about. It took a bit time to load up. So yeah. Moving on to our next slide. So to make this whole thing a bit more entertaining for you, I have prepared the real life case scenarios of things that I've dealt with in my career. And I could not see the presenter slide. Is the slide visible to everyone? I just want to make sure if it is.
Yes, visible, sir, visible.
Okay, okay, great. Oh, great then. So just to make this whole thing a bit more entertaining for you, I tried to keep three real life scenarios. This is the first one of it. And so let's get started with it. So the first case scenario was that someone hacked my Insta account. And here I'll share that exactly how we went through it and how we tried to protect the person who got affected with it. Yeah. Once upon a time. So the thing is, in this particular slide, so let me describe the scenario to you. The first thing was that I got a call from this person, and their first words to me were that someone hacked my friend's Insta account. The guy went on to explain the situation to me that the malicious person has the password of her friend's account. The attacker, who was the lover of the girl, was blackmailing her. He was threatening to leak her private messages to the public. So I want to ask all of you, in this particular scenario, what would have been the next set of steps that you would take to de-escalate a situation like this? If anyone want to try giving their opinions. Uh, okay then, I guess I'll go on to the next slide. Just a minute. Yeah. So the next slide is that what should we do if a scenario like this pops up? that someone has taken account credibility, they have your password, and what next to do. The first thing is that I asked the girl to see if she still has a logged in Instagram session that she might not have logged out of, or if she's able to log into her Instagram using the same password that she had. This is the first step, that we try to see that if we still have access to the account or not. Luckily, she was able to log into her account using the password. So the thing was that for some reason, the attacker hadn't changed the password after gaining access to her account. So the thing is that the attacker did gain access to her account, had the password, had access to all the private messages and everything, but they didn't change the password. And so it allowed us to access the account as well. I then advised her to straight away change the password and enable two-factor authentication on her account. Two-factor authentication is more like the security code that you get on your phone. It can be a message or it can be through an app, and this will ensure more security. So let us say in a case that someone has your password and someone did manage to enter or log in, even that two-factor authentication can then act as the second layer of security. And if the person doesn't have that particular code, it can then act as the second layer of security. And if the person doesn't have that particular code, they can't log in. The question which now arises was, why didn't the guy change the password? Does anyone want to give a guess as to why that happened?
To make sure that the person is not hacked.
Yeah, so one of the reasons could have been that the person never wanted the victim to know that the password has been changed.
Changed.
So that could have been one of the reasons. But lucky for us, just let me go to the next slide. And personally, I have two theories in mind. The first being that the attacker in this case was a rookie and got so focused on blackmailing the client that they forgot the whole reason, that they forgot to change the password and stop us from accessing the account in the first place. And this allowed us to change the password as well. The second is that the attacker wasn't a pro at this at all. He just got, okay, I just got a message from Mohammed that the slide is not visible. Is it visible now?
Visible.
Oh, okay, sure, then I'll go ahead. The second reason is that the attacker wasn't a pro at this and had got access to the account by carrying out some basic phishing attacks. Or the person was someone close to the victim and they knew the password all along and they didn't care to change it. So one of these two things could have been the reason behind it. The slides are taking a bit long to display. Just a minute now. I'll close the presentation for a second and I'll try it once again. The slides visible.
Yeah, visible, sir.
Okay, sure. So the whole thing was that we had these two theories. The first that being the attacker was in this case a rookie and they didn't change the password. because they got so focused on the blackmailing of the client. And the second was that the attacker wasn't a pro at this at all and got access to the account by carrying out some basic phishing attacks. And the person was so close to the victim that they never cared to change the password in the first place. Yeah. The next slide is the origin of online abuse. Now we'll look into how online harassment started in the first place and what led to the beginning of something so sinister. People, so first of all, that how did it all began? People who are new to the internet might think that this is something new and have started happening in the recent days. But the thing is that this couldn't be further away from the reality, as online harassment and online abuse was very common on the internet, and from the very beginning it was present. It just wasn't the part of the mainstream internet or was this well. It actually has been around for a long, long time on the IRC chats, website rooms, social media platforms, moving on to the next slide, a platform without consequences. In the very beginning, internet was this platform where people can do whatever they want, whatever they feel like. In the early days on the internet, there was literally no real life consequence to the things that you did on the internet. Slowly, internet became the safe haven where you can do whatever you want, things that were impossible to do in real life. Stop these crimes by identifying them and stopping them from happening in the very first place. And the only way to do it is by understanding it, detecting it, and stopping it at the first opportunity that we get. That's the only way to stop this all. My next slide is impersonation of a Twitter account. Now, this is the another case scenario. This is not one of my clients, but this is something that I saw on Twitter. So, moving on to the next slide. Me, you, me. This is the case where the malicious attacker made a fake account of an individual named Akansha. The names have been changed, of course. This is just an example. The malicious person made an account with the username Akansha. They attached the same profile pic as that of the original user. They kept the same details and other informations were identical to that of the victim as well, to further and better impersonate the user. This wasn't all. The malicious person also updated the pics of the actual person through this account and tweeted some of the same tweets that the person tweeted earlier to gain more credibility. By the way, if you look at both the usernames, the first one has a total of 3A in it, whereas the second one has 4. And this is one of those subtle ways in which these attackers trick most of us and try to carry out attacks and hacks like these. So moving on to the next slide, which is when all became one. The victim was, of course, unaware of the scenario for the first few days that a fake account using her credentials were made. She eventually came to know about it later on when someone told her about it. Once she came to know about it, she immediately started tweeting to her followers to report the fake account and help her take it down. Luckily, all her followers started reporting the account one after another, and the account was eventually taken down. Twitter support also swiftly acted on this and brought down the fake account. Moving on to the next slide, that is when all became of stats on online abuse. All these stories and cases won't matter if you don't understand how common and dangerous online abuse is. The only way to do that reliably is to show you all the numbers and the stats and let them speak for themselves. Moving on to my next slide, that is the dark side of the internet. This survey was conducted in the America on 1,007 Americans above the age of 18 years of experience, and this was regarding their experience of online harassment. A total of 25% of Americans have been bullied, harassed, or threatened online. A staggering 67% of them know their harassers, and the number went up to 72% when we consider people under the age of 35. Moving on to my next slide right now. Yeah, uh, this slide is about who is harassed the most. 52% of women and 40% of men under the age of 35 has faced some or the other form of harassment on the internet. Overall, 57% of women and 43% of men have been abused online. People are abused on the basis of their race, where 34% Asians were abused, 32% of the Hispanic population, 28% of the black people, and 23% of whites. People have been abused on their political ideologies, where 29% of Democrats have faced abuse, 26% of independents, and 20% of Republicans. Moving on to my next slide, that is nowhere is safe. Online harassment takes place on every well-known social media platform. It has a staggering 62% on Facebook, which is like thrice of the person or the second social media account, which is 24% on Twitter, 20% by emails, 18% of YouTube. Most of us can relate to these as we have all seen and read those ugly comments in the YouTube comment section. 11% of people have been abused on LinkedIn. Instagram is actually doing a very good job of keeping it down to 10%, 8% on Tumblr, and so on. Moving on to my next slide, which is abusers don't leave anyone alone. Abusers abuse. They can pick any topic or reason to abuse others and ridicule them. 44% of the time, sexual reasons were the cause of an online harassment case. 28% because the person's professional character or their ability. 23% because of their race. 18% because of their religious views. This is the topic because of their race. 18% because of their religious views. This is the topic which is actually becoming very serious in India as well. 16% of people were harassed because of their political ideologies, which is again very true to our country. Men and women are abused on the basis of sexual reasons on nearly the same rate. So it's not a totally woman or a men issue. This is something that both the genders have to face. Surprisingly, education level also affects the likelihood of you being abused on the grounds of sexual reasons, as 63% of non-college grads face sexual abuse, while only 39% of college grads face abuse on the basis of sexual reasons. Moving on to my next slide, that is when the hare turns into a turtle. I hope the slides are getting updated time to time. So this particular slide is about that this is such a befitting title to the slide, as the social media giants who present themselves as the pinnacle of technology seems to become extremely slow when it comes to responding to reports of online harassment. Only 30% of cases, only 13% of cases get resolved in the first 24 hours of reporting harassment. 25% of these cases get resolved within a week, but there are still loads of scenarios where people haven't heard back or even seen any developments in months. Online harassment can be very taxing for the people it is directed towards, and not having a solution for months can push the person to take some really serious steps, leading to depression and in worst case to suicide. Moving on to my next slide, that is long road ahead. This is one of those happy slides where we can see the results of filing an online harassment report. In 61% of cases, social media platform shut down the account of the offender. In 44% of cases, law enforcement tried to track down the offender. But the thing is that only in 2% of cases, the attorney filed a lawsuit against the offender. And this percentage is something that definitely needs to go up in the coming time if we want to make the whole online place more secure for the people using it. So I'll move on to my next slide, which is where online meets offline. Online harassment has a huge offline impact as well. Given how much we spend our times online, and anything that happens on the internet can feel as if it's happening to us in real life. 38% of people have reported that it has hurt their self-esteem. 29% of people have reported that they were scared for their life. 20% of people even reported that they were scared to even leave their house. This presentation is one of those steps that we need to take to give these people the strength to speak up. Moving on to my next slide, do not ignore. People tend to ignore cases of online harassment when they see it. 42% of people were unsure of how to respond effectively. 13% of people felt powerless, and 10% of people feared that they would become targeted if they intervened. As I said earlier, these are the numbers that we need to decrease over time by increasing the awareness among people. Moving on to my next slide, that is report it. This slide shows how often people report their personal cases of online harassment. And the thing is that 50% of population simply ignore it. They just don't care about it and they just try to move on ahead. 30% of people actually do respond back to their harassers online. 25% of people reported it to the social media platforms that they were abused at. The sad thing is that only 1% of people ended up hiring an attorney or reporting it to federal law enforcement. And these are some of the numbers that we need to push up as high as we can. We need to make an example to the offenders to stop them from doing such crime in the first place. Moving on to my next slide, that is the rise in online cases, in the cases of online abuse. We need to look into this mystery and see why is it increasing in the first, the rising number of cases. Increasing number of people now have access to the internet has increased so much as we tend to spend more and more time than we did online than a few years ago. Online platforms have gotten so intuitive and interactive that we are all addicted to it. And that's why we spend hours scrolling through our Instagram and Twitter feed. If it wasn't that addictiveness, we might have been using it only for minutes rather than the hours that we do now. All these are pretty great reasons actually behind the rise of online abuse. But the most important point, according to me, is the decreased prices of internet combined with the frustrated and overworked people who need to vent out to keep themselves sane. Internet prices have reduced, and that is definitely a good thing. But it also means that people who don't really understand it have access to it. And the problem is that more often than not, people who are given the technology that they don't fully understand, they tend to misuse it and break things rather than creating something beautiful. Moving on to my next slide. First of all, I would like to interact with you all. That is everything understandable? Do you have any questions? Please go ahead and ask.
We could understand you can proceed.
Slide is Google knows all. So the thing is that I just wanted to carry out this simple experiment with all of you guys to just give a hint of how much these tech giants actually know about us. So this is somewhat like an experiment. If you feel free, you can go ahead with this and follow the steps that I'm asking you to do. So you can open your phones or laptops on the side and then just follow along. So the first thing is that if you can open your Google accounts in your phone or the Google app, if it's possible, please do that. Just a minute, I think I've disconnected. I'll try reconnecting back. Is the following slide visible right now, or is it a blank screen?
Still, it is in the message conveying
Processing.
presenting your screen, but your slides are not visible. Now it's visible. Now it's visible.
Okay. So if you have opened your Google account on your phone, you can uh, follow these steps. So the first thing is that if anyone have opened it, just click on your profile pic on the top right corner. Then you can go ahead and click on the manage your Google account. That should be an option that should be popping up. Um, just I'll wait for a second. Okay, so once you do that, you can go ahead and search for data and personalization. You might have to scroll down a bit or just search around. Once you do that, click on the add personalization. Then go on to the go to add settings. Okay, then. Now, once you are on the go to add settings, you can feel free to scroll down and you might see that there are certain data points that are stored. Can, if anyone has reached to this level, can they think of tell me what exactly?
We have some messages indicating Google is one of many ad networks, some instruction alone.
Okay. Uh, so the thing is that most of the time, like this particular thing, that if your ad personalization is not off, you'll see a huge set of data points. I'll just move on to my next slide. You'll see a huge amount of data points that is stored on you via Google. So there will be like hundreds of data points that will be collected on you. And this is all the data points that is collected on you while you browse through Google, while you browse through the internet. And using these data points, they then go ahead and then advertise you and give you the advertisements. So based on these, they profile you, and based on that profile, they present you with the ads so that they can get the most return out of all of that. So there's a good news and a bad news to this. The good news is that you can turn off this data collection by Google at any point of time you want. There's this option, you can just press there and it will turn it off. But the bad news is that there are thousands of companies that have data points on you stored in places where you can't reach or you can't see your own data points and what are the data they have on you. So let's move on to the next slide, that is types of online harassment. So you have to first of all understand it to stop it. And that's the whole crux of this
So,
entire presentation.
excuse me,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
sir. Sir, what to do we now? Either we have to press off or add personalization. It's better it
Yes.
should
So
be in
the
the off mode.
Yeah. So regarding this, the ad personalization should be turned off. So the thing is, the when the ad personalization is turned off, people or Google or other tech giants, they have to respect this privacy of yours, and they won't track you down. So they won't keep on tracking each and everything that you do online. And so the less data they have on you, the less. So the thing is, the ads that will be shown to you will at that point of time will not be relevant, but at the same time, they won't have the amount of data that they have on you. So right now they can tell the age group that you belong to, your gender, things you like, that can be cooking or that can be something else. And all these things have been very properly documented as data points that they then use to present you with ads. And the thing is that this is all safe and secure till the time that they only Google has it. But that's the bad news, that there are thousands of other companies who are doing this, and Google is just one of those major tech giants that we know about. But Facebook and other companies like Twitter and Instagram also do this, and we know from our other research papers and everything that we have read and understood from, that these data points are not really utilized in the best way we think it can be. There are various other algorithms that are running in the background that then use these data points to profile you on, and that profiling is carried on, and that profiling can be very extreme, and that can involve things like your race, caste, and creed in the whole thing as well, which should not be the case normally, but that is. So it is better to turn it off. And if you
Okay,
can find
sir.
the turn off button, please go ahead.
It's a lengthy list, sir. It shows so many data points. Really, I wondered.
Yeah.
So it's better. I have to off. It should be in off mode. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Sure, sure. Yeah, so we were on the slide of types of online harassment. So the thing is that there are mainly three kinds of online harassment. The first one is the annoying kind, which is the cyber stalking, the trolling, these things. The second one is the invasive kind. This is doxing, message bombing, catfishing. And the last one is the traumatic kind, which is the threats of violence, swatting, and revenge porn, etc. So we'll go through all of these one by one. Let me just change over my slides. So the slide, this is cyber stalking. So let's get into it and see what exactly it is. So the thing about cyber stalking is that this is the act. Just a minute. Mm. Yep. So the first thing that we need to know about cyber stalking is that this is a criminal act. Cyber stalking is when someone is using the internet to systematically and repeatedly harass, threaten, or intimidate someone. This is carried out in different ways. Some of the most popular methods includes email, social media platforms, of course, chat rooms, etc. And the thing is that we'll also go through the ways that you can carry out to prevent yourself and protect yourself from things like this. And the first is that, first of all, you have to be aware of, if you're aware of who the stalker is, then block them on all social media platforms. If you have their contact number or their phone, just block those. Block anything and everything. Collect, the second point will be to collect as much evidence as you can on your attempt to stop them. That is the things that you did to block the person. So make a document of everything. And the last thing is that document the activities of the stalker as well, because this is something that will really help you to implicate the person later on. I'll have a question session after at the end of these slides. Did you guys have any problem understanding this? I hope everyone's clear. Okay, then I'll move on to my next slide, that is online impersonation. I guess the image is pretty clear of what it actually means, but still I'll go through the explanation of the whole thing. That another thing is that online impersonation is a criminal act. So that is the first thing that we need to keep in mind. So that if attacks like these happen in future with you, you'll know exactly what kind of steps that you can take ahead and whether it is a criminal act or not, and so you can act accordingly. So for online impersonation, when a person uses the name or persona of someone without their consent, with the intent to harm them or defraud them, that is the case of online impersonation. Online impersonation, if it seriously damages the person's reputation and everything is documented of the way of how it did damage the person and their reputation, the person who carried this can be prosecuted in criminal law as well. So let us talk about the things that you should do if something like this occurs with you. So the first thing is maintain adequate identity theft protection on your smart devices. So identity theft protection, these comes in antivirus softwares and other things as well, and these try to protect your private information to leak out, and they try to stop it even if it is a mistake. The next point is, which is one of the most important points, is put out as little information about you as possible in the public. Because the thing about cyber stalkers and other people, or actually the thing about any online abusers, is that they use these information that have been put online by you in the public domain. You must have put it under a pretext of happiness or something like that. But then they go ahead and then they use this information to then target you and harass you on those things. The next step would be to contact a lawyer and build a strong case to be able to prosecute the attacker with malicious intent. So the person who is doing this, you can make a strong account or a strong case against them, and then you can carry out this whole thing. So now moving on to my next slide, which is about catfishing. So let us look into that and what it exactly is. First of all, we need to know that catfishing is not a criminal activity. So this is something that we need to focus. That the earlier two activities, online impersonation and cyber stalking, these were both criminal activities. Whereas catfishing is not a criminal activity, but this is still a part of online harassment. But the good news is that if this can be prosecuted as a criminal act if it is carried out, if catfishing is termed or combined with some other kind of criminal activity. Catfishing, what exactly it is? Catfishing is when someone creates an online fake identity for the sole purpose of starting a relationship and utilizing it to benefit from their victim. So let's say if you have a lot of money in your account and a person creates a fake account to get into a relationship with you, or it can be a friendship relationship, it can be a relationship of a lover, and then they utilize you and then they try to take away the money from you. So this is something that is known as catfishing. Catfishing in itself is not illegal, as I said earlier, but if it leads to some more serious issues such as transfer of money, and then this whole thing can be prosecuted under criminal law, and that's the thing about it. Now let us look at ways of how to stop this, how to stop an catfishing kind of attack. First of all, we need to focus that the person who is carrying out this catfishing will be in a rush to move into a relationship with you so as to fastly achieve their goals, because that's the whole purpose of catfishing, to get into a relationship with you, to establish a kind of sense of trust with you, and then use that trust to get benefit from you. So that's the whole purpose of catfishing. And if you're ever in doubt, simply ask the person to meet up with you, or in today's scenario, do a Google call or do a video call or things like that, because there are high chances that the malicious person won't meet up in person, as it blows their cover, and this should be a red flag, because this should like straight away let you know that something malicious is going on behind the scenes. So I'll move on to my next slide, that is doxing. So let us look into that, what exactly doxing is.
Aditya, hello.
Yeah.
Can I have a question?
Sure, definitely.
Like I have a doubt. Like you said, all these activities, like also cyber stalking, criminal act, my question is, first, when we know that we are being hacked or stalked, the first thing what you're supposed to document about the person, who they are, is
Yeah. So regarding
uh,
this, what I'm asking is that if it's possible that you know the stalker, there are chances that most of the times you know the person who's stalking you. Like if
okay, right?
if the stalking is being
It's
very
known to us.
invasive,
Okay, okay,
yes,
right?
in that case scenario, it's preferred to document everything. It's
Okay, then.
also first of all, documentation is that one thing that you need to do in each and every kind of online harassment that is carried out against you. Try to document anything and everything is happening. So let us say if you feel something wrong is happening and a threatening email has been sent, save that email, take a screenshot of it, protect it, star it, or something. If you think that a particular number is calling you time and again, so save that number. If it's possible, record that call. Like let us say if you pick up the phone, a phone call, and then the person is threatening you from the other side. So if it's possible to record that call, because each and everything that you document will can then be used as in the law. These can be used as proof against the person who did it to you, and that is the best thing, because the thing is that most of the people we get tend to get scared and we do not document it, and we just go out in a total rage, or we totally subdue ourselves and we say that we won't do anything about it. And that's the thing, that if you want to go into a rage mode, and if you don't have documents and things to back you up, it's only going to affect you in a very very bad way, because the harasser then charge on you for saying that you
But
put
keeping
him or
silent.
her in a bad light. So the first thing is document anything and everything you can. Things that you might think that is not relevant, document them as well, because you never know that what can be used against the person in a certain scenario. So
Okay.
it's best
Up,
to have as much documentation as possible. Yeah, please go
okay.
ahead.
After documentation, should we approach the lawyer or the police?
Yes. So on that terms of things, it's actually better from my side that to have a lawyer, if it's possible to reach out to a lawyer first, so that they can then guide you to carry out the best case scenario. Because we do get the idea that going to a police is the first thing that might come in most of our minds, but
Yes.
from everything that we have gone through, reaching out to a law enforcement agency is really important, but that should not be the first step. The first step would be, as I'll tell ahead as well, it will be to have first of all a cybersecurity professional by your side, one, and the another thing is to have a lawyer by your side, and the combined knowledge of both these person can then help you to then guide you to go ahead to the law enforcement. Because the thing is that let us say if you do reach out to law enforcement, and this happens in most of the cases, that people do reach out to police and
Yeah.
law enforcement, they report an FIR, but the thing is that they do not put the most important context and the most important points in that FIR, and because of that, when the person or the harasser is actually being charged,
Right.
they are charged on severe cases that they could have been charged on. They are not charged on that, and they are charged on some really small crime, and they kind of get bail, and these things happen. So it's best to have a cybersecurity professional and a lawyer by your side, so that they can tell you exactly how to draft the entire thing, so that when you do approach the police and when you do report an FIR, it
Yeah.
has every important detail, so that when you do prosecute the harasser and they do in the court of justice, they actually do get punished. So they get punished for a severely and long period of time, and that's
Okay.
why it's preferred to first reach out to a
First,
lawyer and a
lawyer.
cybersecurity professional. Yeah.
Alright. Then one more thing, like after reaching this lawyer in cybersecurity, but there are some chances of the data to be gone to the press or something like that. Like if it can be a police or could it be a lawyer, is there a chance
Yeah.
that the data can go to the, because now we can see that highlight people want some publicity. Some people do it for that purpose also. So in which
Yes.
cases,
Yes.
like will what I want to know is the press people take that into serious account. like this will be published? Because most of us, if we are into this particular thing, you say we can go to the lawyer or police, but there's
Yes.
still a slight fear that whether this will be published and whether our name will be spoiled. That one's, there's still a question mark over there.
Yes, and that's the thing that it's preferred, and that's the thing that again it's preferred to go to a lawyer in this. But it is also preferred that if you know and trust these two people, because these are the first point of contact, and you want to not get this data out, as you said, that this can then put you in a bad light as well. So you want these people to, if possible, that if they are a friend of yours or a friend of friend, so that is preferred, because so they can first of all give you the best advice, and second of all they can keep your identity secure and safe as long as needed.
Secure. Yes.
And the thing is, people do feel that it's good to go to the press, but as we have seen in the recent point of time, that the press only plays the whole news in a sense that gives them the more ratings. They don't really care about the story.
Yeah.
They care more about their
Stories.
ratings, and so your story might, when you reach out to someone, and your story might not be the if you reach out to a press and your story is not most attractive or really great for them, they might not pick it up, or they might manipulate and modify the entire thing, and they play it in a way that might actually play you in the bad light. So it's press should be one of the last people where you should go to get this whole thing out, unless and until if other people are not helping you at all, like in the sense like if police is not filing an FIR, and in those cases, then definitely press is someone that can be extremely helpful to you.
Okay. Sure. Another one in Facebook. Suppose if in Facebook, if there are that is what you say is in Facebook you are working in an organization, and in that that in the same people, the same person, whoever you know it up, they are also working in the same organization, and they write something negativity about you. What type of hacking or what type of act can you call this as?
Sure.
Hope you understood my question, right?
Exactly.
Like
so
both of us are working in the same institution or the organization, and in the Facebook they have written something negativity about you. So is it a good thing? Like we cannot have a good conversation at all. So could we file something against that person, or should we report it to the organization? Like even if we report to the organization, we don't know what they are going to do. There's all these questions come there. So what is the step to be taken?
Exactly. And this is a scenario where you have to look at all the pros and cons.
Yeah.
First of all, if you think that if you report, the first thing would be to report it to the organization.
Yeah. Okay.
But that isn't the case when you know that the organization, the person, let us say if the person in the organization is a higher up, or is actually on the committee to take the decision. So going to the organization in such a case scenario might not be the best case for you. Okay. If the person, if you are hopeful that the organization will actually take a strong step against the person and will actually not be biased, then you can definitely do that. That is most preferable, to keep it inside the organization.
Okay.
But in cases where you are sure that the organization is biased, it can be on any basis. It can be on a basis of sex or basis of religion. But if you think that something like that is the case scenario, then you can take this thing on a totally different path, where you actually go with the same process of getting a cybersecurity professional and a lawyer, and you approach it from that side. Because in this particular case, as the employee or your friend actually, just a minute, the slides, I guess, got caught up. Yeah, so what I was saying was that this person can, as they reached out to you on a platform outside your official platform or the platform of the organization. So in this way, you can actually take it in a different way. You can, and the slides are just back up. Just give me a minute. Yeah, so you can, in this particular way, just a minute. I hope the slides are back up in like 2-3 minutes. Yeah. So in this particular case, you can actually also approach this person on a law front from a totally whole different perspective, and leave the organization. Like in the sense, like leave the organization out of it, and you reach out the person from the exterior perspective.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
Okay, right. Thank you. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah. Our next point is doxing. Doxing is, first of all, is a criminal act, but that is, oh my God. I think the internet quality from my side is really bad right now. Just bear with me 1 minute. Yeah, I hope the presentation will come back up. I'm really sorry for this. So yeah, the second step that I was actually, the next step I was talking about was doxing. Just please bear with me till the slides are back up and just listen to what I have to say. So that, yeah. So the thing about doxing is that doxing is a criminal act, but only if the information that was leaked is not public. So let me first explain what doxing is. Doxing comes from the word of dropping docs, that is dropping documentations. Most of the time that what doxing actually is, docs. So the thing is, this could include data about your full addresses, your phone numbers, and personal and private information about your family. And so what the person does in this particular case is that they drop your documents, they give out your documents to the public so that they can then use that information to harass you as an individual or your entire family. So now the thing is, let us look at the ways to stop ourselves, to protect ourselves, to actually and keep our data private. First of all, make sure that all your social media accounts are on a private mode. So the private mode, what it does is that people who are not really your friends or your followers, they won't be able to see the data that you are posting. In this way, your post the reach of your post do get decreased, but at the same time, the people who are your friends, only those people can see this data, and that makes it a bit more secure for you. Google about yourself and see what is the information that is publicly available about you. So what you can do in this particular case scenario is that you can Google your name and see what exactly documents are popping up, or what are the information that people are able to find about you. And then what you can do is then you can reach out to those web admins or that website admins, and then ask them to take down that particular data if you think that it is way too intensive, and like if it gives too much information about you to the public. The next step would be to definitely to get a VPN access, and then protect your internet, protect your actually location from the people on the internet. So that's that. The next point is swatting. I'll hope the slides will load up slowly. But what exactly sorting is So swatting is actually a criminal activity. And what it is that it is the act of someone, mm, just a minute. Yeah. Swatting is when someone, a malicious person makes a call to the law enforcement agency describing a fake dangerous scenario so that the enforcement agency then have to barge in the victim's account home. So what it happens is that a person makes a call. They tell that X and something has happened at this particular location, which will be your address, and they'll tell that a crime scenario is going on. Please go in and carry out the do the needful. And so this is actually mostly common in USA, where sorting and like barging in homes is allowed to the police. And so what the people do is that they directly go to that location and they barge inside your house. The thing is that this can lead to some extremely high tension scenarios where the victim have no idea of exactly what is happening, and bunch of cops totally geared up just moves inside your home. And at that point of time, it can be extremely scary. And the thing is that you have to be very, very calm at this point of time, because any wrong movement of what you do can lead to something really, really significant. And something really scary can happen in a matter of seconds. So then moving on to what should you do if something like this happens. First of all, never share your complete address on the public platforms. The lesser you share, the better it is for you. If the persons do not have your exact address, they can't call a SWAT attack on your house in the first place. The second thing is use a VPN. VPN is one of the most like one of the words that is mostly used in the security cyber security thing, security platforms, and it is really really secure to first of all shield your location from victim from attackers like this, so that they'll never come to know about the location of your this of the place you're currently working out of. And for us, how common it is for us to now work online, we definitely need to keep this in check to keep our location secure. The next thing is remain cooperative with the officers. That is the best thing you can do. That remain as cooperative with the officers as possible. The officers who have sorted your house, and once things have settled down, then go ahead and take legal action on the person who made the call to the SWAT team. The next slide is one of the most common slide, and which is one of the most common things that most of us might have faced, and that is online trolling. So the thing about online trolling is that it is a non-criminal act. It is the act when someone makes an unsolicited comment in an online community that are random or controversial. So that is what exactly trolling is. These are categorized under three major types. The first one is concerned trolling. In this scenario, the harassers pose as fans or enthusiasts, and they try to get close to their victim as much as possible. And once they are close enough, then they take advantage of that situation and they troll that person. The next one is dogpiling, where groups of trolls band together to harass a particular individual or a brand. They might not know each other, they might not have ever known each other at all. But the thing is that they just come together, and on one particular topic, all of them start to harass or troll the person or the brand. The next one is bot trolling. Now, this is one of the most common things that happen, and this is when automated bot accounts troll the person or the brand. So how it happens is that these bots accounts are programmed in such a way that they will leave a certain set of comments under your post, no matter when you post it, no matter what you post. So these bots accounts are created in such a way. So now the question is that if you face such massive levels of trolling, what is the next set of steps that you should do? And the first step is to do not respond or provoke these people. Like, do not try to get back to them. Straight away block the persons involved. So every account or everything that you feel is actually causing you this trolling, just block them one by one. That is one of the best things that you can do, because provoking them only give them this validation and they do it even more. The other thing is report them to the social media platform on which this is the whole entire thing is happening, and ask others to do the same, and the thing is that the more the people report these online platforms about this particular things that happen, the faster these accounts can be then taken down. And so the best thing is to report them as much as possible. Moving on to my next slide, that is message bombing. So message bombing, what it exactly is, first of all, message bombing is not a criminal act. So this is something that you need to keep in mind. What it does is that it entails intentionally flooding a person's or institution's phone or email account with messages. So it just floods your entire email addresses and phones with messages. So you'll have like hundreds and thousands of messages coming each and every minute. And that is done as a denial of service attack, so that it just stops you to stop using your phone. In that point of time, you just can't use your phone anymore because it just becomes unusable. So large number of messages sent in that such short period of time just makes the phone unusable or the particular account unusable. So now let us see that what are the things that you can do if such a scenario arises. First of all, go ahead and report the incident to the social media platforms, because once you do that, then the social media platform can restrict messaging to your account and things like that. And the next step that you can take is that if needed, create a temporary email address or username like a secondary account or a account to fall back to, so that using that account, so let us say if you're the account that you use the harassed or like being attacked, you can use the second account to then reach out to your friends and family and let them know that you have lost access to your previous account, and they can reach out to you on this particular new ID. The last point of this presentation is revenge porn, and let us look into that. So what revenge porn exactly is? So revenge porn is a straight away criminal act. That is, I think that is already very much clear to everyone. What revenge porn exactly is, it refers to non-consensual pornography and the act of distributing private sexually explicit images and videos without the consent of the person or the persons involved. So whenever some private intimate moments of a person are being leaked online, that can be easily explained as revenge porn. Most of the time this is done as an act of revenge. They just want to get back to the person or their partner in most of cases. The result of such acts can be extremely invasive and traumatic for the victim. One of these examples were actually the boys' locker room thing that happened a few, I guess, 1 month back, and that is a clear-cut case of revenge porn. So let us see what are the steps that you can takes place with you. First of all, the basic thing is try not to keep nude images of yourself and your partner in places where it can get mishandled or leaked easily. So if you have such explicit images of yourself, keep it at places where it can't be leaked easily. The second thing is take legal action against the person who released those images of the victims on the public or private platforms. And the last will be to contact the platform administrator to get these contents removed as fast as possible. So I just want to ask that this will be one of the last points. Is everyone clear till everything about it? Or if anyone wants to ask a question, get some clarification, please go ahead. I'll then go ahead.
It's clear, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So the next slide is, this is another case scenario that I wanted to share with you. And this is actually a case of revenge porn and what exactly happened. So let me go on to the next slide. Yeah. So story of the leaked pics. This is the case scenario where one of my clients the details about in the that were like mentioned about the client. So think the details of my client that were public. So then we went through the entire thing and we made a list of everything that was leaked on that situation so that we can sort it out. Moving on to my next slide. But the damage was done. We understood everything that happened. We tried to assess the damage and see what things could do to take care of the damage that has happened, and at what places were too late to act. So the first thing was the social media handles of the pictures that were leaked. We couldn't do anything about it. Once it was on the internet, it was on the internet. We asked the website admins to take it on, and that is still in process. And the last thing is that we reached out to other major players in this field to lawyer up and build a proper case to protect the client from these things and to carry out the case against the people who carried out this whole attack. So I'm going to like how to prevent online. All these things, learn more about online harassment, online abuse, identify it. Now, ways to actually work based to online abuse. So these are some of the points that I've created. So as a repetition of everything that we've talked about. And the first thing is identify the abuse. Figure out exactly what is going on with you, exactly what type of abuse you're facing. To feel, first of all, to know exactly what type of abuse is going on, so that you can better understand that what are the steps you need to take to protect it. The better you are able to identify it, the better steps you can take against it. The next is, which is one of the most important thing, is document the abuse. Save anything that you can find. That can be the emails, the voicemail, text, anything. Take screenshots, save the link, same set of individuals. Try to log about everything about them. Like when they do that, is it in the morning, is it in the night, when I do these messages? Then all information, the better evidence you have, use these evidence to then have a proper log. The third point is assess your safety. Online harassment can make you pretty insecure about your physical and mental well-being. And in such cases, you have to reach out to law enforcement agencies. But at the same time, try to maintain a sense of security about yourself as well, that you are safe and your family will be safe as well. Moving on to the next slide, the more you know, the better it is. The first, improve cybersecurity skills to protect yourself from hacking and impersonation. So these type of attacks will happen if your cybersecurity skills are weak. And we don't want you to be a professional in cybersecurity, but we want to improve your basic skills. Use strong passwords. Now the thing is that a lot of people do say that use strong passwords, but let me explain what it actually means. It doesn't mean to use a very complex password. Using strong passwords could be, so a password like a horse is my best friend actually is a very good password. And the reason for this is that horse is my best friend is actually a long password. And so if someone is carrying out a brute force attack where they're trying every combination, this is nearly impossible to crack, because something so long will take a huge amount of time to be cracked. What else you can do is you can change alphabets with numerals. So let us say if you have O in your password, you can change that O with a 0. If you have A in your password, you can change that A with an with the symbol of @. So these are the small things that you can do to make your password long and hard to crack. These passwords are easy to remember. Now go. The first thing that we ask in the case of cyber crimes and online harassments is like go ahead and block the malicious account, because most of the times what happens is that when it's beginning, there is just one or two accounts that is trying to troll you or trying to defame you. In that time, if you block that one or two account in the very beginning, you might be able to kill off the entire process of trolling. So just go ahead and do that. You can also mute the account. So at places where you don't have the chance to block it, what you can do is you can just mute that account, so that every lie or the hatred that they spew out, you don't see it. So you can protect your mental health by that. You can also group these words and then mark them, so that these particular words, whenever they show up, they won't be shown to you. They would be like kept aside automatically. The post, you can report posts and abuses that violate the terms and conditions of the social media platform, so that those posts that can be then taken down from the platform and is not shown to you anymore. The next point is enlist allies, and this is again one of the most important points, because you have to surround yourself with people who are expert in cybersecurity and people who are lawyers, so that they can help you get through this tough time, and they can tell you the best advice that you need to come on top of this whole situation. So the better people you have around you, the best it is. Moving on to my next slide, last but not the least, speak out. Speaking out against the abuse and sends actually a very, very strong and powerful message to everyone. If you speak against your abuser and the abuse that they have done to you, it shows how strong a person you are. But the thing is, you have to be very careful about everything you decide to speak out, and you have to see exactly what will work out for you. Because if you issue out a statement in a hurry and without giving a proper thought, the same statement can then be manipulated in such a way that it can be pitted against you. So you have to be very, very cautious and take your time when issuing out a statement. So I'll just like to end my talk with the two quotes that I really liked while I was preparing this presentation. And the first one is that cyberbullying is wrong and borderline criminal. Hiding behind a pretty screen doesn't make it less hateful. So that is something, if you are in a position that you are actually the abuser and you are actually trolling someone else, just remember that this is not good, and trying to make someone look bad only makes you look bad. And the next point is, and the next quote that I really liked was that if you are a victim of cyberbullying, speak up. Because if you're not speaking up, you're just doing the bully a favor. And we all know for sure that that is not what you want. Yeah. So that's from my side. If you have any question answers, please feel free to ask them now.
I think everyone has cleared their doubts in between.
Sure then. So you can reach out to me.
Okay.
And so thank you all. Thanks so much for again listening to this.
Thank you on behalf of UGC HRDC and on behalf of course coordinator Dr. T. Devi ma'am. I thank Aditya for clearly explaining about